Rev up your engines!
The Woomaster says, what would you charge for a day of car shopping with a customer for a used car? Well, it would be insane. I'm way too busy to spend a whole day doing that. The money that I make making videos and fixing cars, it'd be too cost prohibitive. If I wanted to break even what I live on a normal day, it would just be way too much. I mean, it would run in at least $1,000, and that'd be stupid. I just tell people, look, you look at the cars, call me, I'll talk to you on the phone free. Then when you find one you like, bring it to my shop and I'll check it out, and I charge $100 to check it out. But you can't pay me to ride around with you. I've got too many things I'm doing. I got too many fires that I just help them on the phone, and then if they do find a nice one, they bring it here and I check it out for $100. Team E Testfu says, Scotty, what do you think of a 2019 Hyundai Elantra for a daily driver? I live in Seattle. I never was a big fan of Korean cars because originally they made crappy little cars. Now they're better made than they used to be. They won't last as long as a Toyota or Honda. That's a fact. If you're the type of guy that you buy a new vehicle like that, now it's 2019, maybe you're getting an old model or maybe you're buying a low mileage one, they can often last 100,000 miles trouble-free. My tax accountant used to own one, and she had it 10 years. She only put 75,000 miles on it and didn't have any real problems with the vehicle. She started to have problems after 10 years. Then she said, I'm sick of this anyway. She bought a brand new V6 Mustang because she always wanted a Mustang. It used to be that there was a big price difference between the Korean cars and Toyotas and Hondas, but that gap is shrinking. And if you're just saving a little bit of money, better off buying a Toyota or Honda. But if you do save a lot of money, go ahead. If you're happy with 100,000 miles or, 10 years, whichever comes first, they can be okay then. BJ05 says, Scotty, you mentioned don't pay much for used cars, and Nada and Blue Book are owned by companies selling cars. What's the best way, other than what you can afford, to determine what to pay for a car? Yeah, that is the actual problem these days, and it's really kind of disgusting in the United States. They make up these fantasy appraisals, and then everyone thinks that's what they're worth, and people try to sell them, and a lot of times they'll get it because people are dumb and they believe something they see written down in a book. I went to England. Their used cars are dirt cheap, and I looked at some. They were perfectly fine cars, but they don't have this make-believe high value of used cars. They were like it used to be when I was a kid. If a new car went for $3,000, you could buy a $500 car all day long that still had tons of life in it when it was 6, 7 years old. Today, for some reason, they make this fantasy that they're worth more. They really aren't. You just try to find somebody who's selling a car that needs the cash. Craigslist is good for that. Look at estate sales. They got a car that's low mileage, maybe it's older, you can get a good deal on it. Stay away from the lots. They're all going to charge you a ton. They know what they can sell them for, and they know what they got involved in them, and they are loaning you money. If you have cash, pay cash. You're going to get a much better deal. If you don't and you have to pay, you're going to be screwed. There's no way out of it. Everybody that loans you money on a car loan is going to charge way too much money. I had a customer 15 years ago bought a Toyota Corolla station wagon, $3,000. Excellent car. I had another customer about a week later buy the same year car, but it had 150,000 miles. She paid $9,000 because she had horrible credit. She bought it at a used car lot, and they screwed her over. So that's just how it goes. If you have cash, try that. Felipe Carvalho says, a used 2012 Jetta is even worth looking at? Yeah, if you like looking at endless money pits, they just are. Every single customer of mine in the last 20 years that bought a Volkswagen was not satisfied at the end. Most said, worst car ever had, plastic crap, broke all the time, and some said, oh, I bought it new, it was okay for a while, but then it fell apart. I'm never going to buy another Volkswagen. If you live in Europe, there, a lot of people buy Volkswagens. The parts are cheaper. More mechanics know how to work on them, and they don't have this ridiculous resale value of used cars like I was talking earlier in the United States. I was in England. I saw Volkswagens that were used that were, that kind of age, that were 8 years old, and they're gone for a song and a dance. You could pick them up for like 1,500, 2,000 pounds, which isn't all that much money. United States, they ask too much money, and they are junk. I mean, if somebody gave you one or sold you one for $500 and it ran and it shifted, go right ahead, but don't pay any serious money for a vehicle like that. Patrick McGinnis says, I got a 2018 Jeep Compass, 50,000 miles. Keeps telling me to put vehicle in park to switch gears, but it's in park. Traction control, brake, transmission lights are all coming out at once. Well, now you know why I tell people not to buy Jeeps, and especially the Jeep Compasses. They're poorly made, their electronics are crap, and yours is starting to break down. Now, take it into the dealer. Should still be under warranty. Let them fix that piece of crap. They made them, they sold them, let them fix it. It should still be under warranty. Could be anything from bad software. I see it all the time in Jeeps. They give weird data. I plug in my systems and they give absurd data, like it'll say air temperature 1400 degrees Fahrenheit, which of course is impossible, right? So take it to them. Let them fix it for free. It should be under warranty. Hopefully you don't have too many miles that's out of warranty. If you do, take it in, because there's obviously something electronic squirreling up, which is just typical for those things. I mean, Chryslers were bad enough by themselves. When Fiat bought them, if you know anything about the history of cars, Italian cars, Fiats especially, have the worst electronic systems in the world. We used to call them "fix it again, Tony," for Fiat. And that was back in the 60s and 70s. Now they got even more electronics that break down. So my advice, don't buy one. You got it, take it in under warranty. Make them fix it. Larry Belge says, I have the exact matrix as you do. As it idles rough, I cleaned the throttle body, mass air, and installed new plugs. What do you think is still rough? Odds are you have some kind of vacuum leak. The numero uno on that is the intake manifolds are made out of plastic, and where the manifold bolts to the aluminum head, that gasket goes bad. It's not that bad of a job. You could easily do it yourself. You just unbolt all the plastic crap, take it off, buy an OEM factory gasket, because they always work, put it on and put it all back together again. You got a vacuum leak, and what you could do is, if you have a scan tool, or if you don't, you know somebody does, or take it to a mechanic and say, I think it's got this vacuum leak, they can put the scan tool and they can look at the data. And if they see at idle fuel trim is adding fuel, that means that you got an intake leak somewhere and it's got so much extra air that the computer is now adding extra fuel, and of course it adds it at an idle, so it'll idle rough. So definitely check for the intake manifold gasket leaking. I see that as they age. That's 13-year-old car. And Detectable 42 says, what do you think of the Ford Ranger with the V6? Rangers can be good pickup trucks. I personally go for the 4-cylinder ones. They're simpler, they're easier to maintain, and I go for the standard transmission ones too, because it's a pickup truck. You should be able to drive a standard, and it's much better for hauling stuff, pulling stuff. You got more control. The V6 engines, of course, have more horsepower, but on the other hand, they wear out faster too. So it all depends on what you want. If you're going to tow and pull and stuff, yeah, you're going to have to go with the V6, because the Ford can't pull a ton of weight. It's fine for running around and doing knockaround stuff, but if you're going to tow, get a V6. If not, get the 4-cylinder one. They can last a long time too. You're going to get better gas mileage, and you're going to have less strain if you do get an automatic transmission, because the V6s, they can burn the transmissions out faster with all that extra power. John Lentry says, 04 Jeep Liberty 6-cylinder. Smell burning oil in a cab. Repair code says I need oil pressure sensor as well. Jeep runs fine, except it uses half a quart of oil every 4,000 miles. Just get a flashlight. Look at it. If it's all dripping with oil, you know the thing's leaking. That's not much oil to use, so it doesn't have to be leaking all that much. It's not that bad of a job, you know. You can go to places like AutoZone and buy an oil pressure socket removal tool for like $10, and you can remove it yourself and put a new one in. It's not that big of a deal, and they sell them in discount auto parts stores for practically nothing. You might as well go ahead and change it now, because those things have little rubber diaphragms in them, and if it finally rips, it could really pour a lot of oil out and strand you somewhere or ruin your engine. So I would fix it now. Joe Rossi says, Scotty, what do you think of the new Mazdas made in Mexico? From history alone, I am no fan of any vehicle made in Mexico. I just am not, because I've seen the history of what was made there. Chrysler moved factories down there. Their bad quality got worse when it was there. I see too much bad coming out of there. I'm kind of sad that Toyota's now moving all their Tacoma smaller pickup truck production into Mexico. They're not going to be making in the United States. They're only going to make the big ones. They're like everybody else. Big is better, you know. Eventually it's going to bite them in the rear end. But I'm not a fan of stuff that's made in Mexico. Even in remanufactured parts, alternators, starters, stuff like that, remanufactured in Mexico, I'm like, ugh, and they won't last as long. I know that from 52 years of working on cars and seeing more Mexico rebuilt parts, worse parts being rebuilt. Personally, I would rather buy a part remanufactured in China than remanufactured in Mexico. They seem to have a higher quality control there than they do in Mexico now. So just from the past, who knows? Maybe one day they'll make great cars there. But I have a feeling that the Chinese will end up beating to that, and we'll end up getting cars made in China, not made in Mexico. Kaboom One says, Scotty, 2004 Toyota Matrix, 165,000 miles. My rear axle assembly's bent as negative camber. Should I go to a junkyard and get the assembly there? What do you think? Sure, why not? They just bolt on and off. You know, I mean, I've put struts on mine in the back and you got to bolt the whole thing off and put the new ones and bolt it back on. It's not that big of a deal. Why not go to a salvage yard? You know, as long as that's not bent, you can see the car. They don't take them apart and take all those parts off. That'll still be on the body. If you don't mind, you know, go right ahead. Buying the new parts would be cost prohibitive. Toyota body parts like that are very expensive because they know nobody else in the world sells them, so they aren't cheap. But yeah, go right to a junkyard. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.